I just want to give everybody a quick reminder. You can go over to Pimpy's news network. It is free for everybody. Everybody has access to the videos that are on the website. Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory.
Something big is going down on Wall Street, and they're doing their baby Jesus best to make sure we are too distracted to hear about this. Bank of England has been caught with their knickers down. Gold shortage was uncovered because the withdrawal time went from 1 single day to 8 weeks. That's how short they are on gold. Where did it all go? Well, it's all been shipped to New York. The question is, why? They're saying because there are tariffs on gold, but President Trump never did that when he was first elected in 2016, and it hasn't happened again, so what tariffs are they speaking of? And the math is still not mathing, because 393 metric tons were sent to New York. However, what was supposed to be in the Bank of England were 5,000. So someone isn't being truthful about where the gold is or why it was sent and what is happening. It means the gold that we now have in New York is more than we had in 2020. Something is coming. What do the powerful know that we don't?
Well, I'll tell you what they know. As soon as Trump was elected, I had put out there that, in my opinion, they were afraid that Trump was going to audit the Federal Reserve and audit our gold holdings. And that's why you've seen a lot of panic in the gold market. There's an eyewitness already coming out, and I'll find that somewhere around here, but eyewitnesses are saying that there's every day on commercial flights, every single day, they're shipping gold from London into the United States, and they're doing it on commercial flights. Again, it's all rumors and shit, but you know what? Makes sense. People are witnessing a lot of trucks pulling up into the Fort Knox. I said, in my opinion, they're just covering their ass because the gold was not in Fort Knox. We're going to get into that here in just a minute and hear some other stories from people about what they think. But that was my theory, is that they didn't have the gold in Fort Knox like they better have. So if there's a shortage in London and there's a shortage over here in the United States because they're trying to fill up the coffers again, that's going to put a lot of strain on the world demand, both in gold and silver. So remember I told you guys, hang on to your sheets, because when the doo-doo hits the fan, gold and silver, there's not going to be enough of it. And they're going to be turning to people who are holding precious metals to help them fill the demand. That means gold and silver prices are going to go up.
And also it brings attention to the fact that gold still has value, and implicitly, not explicitly, but implicitly, gold still gives value to the dollar. Yeah. That's why we don't get rid of it. You know, we've got it, the IMF has it, the World Bank has it. Most of the central banks around the world have gold, and it's an implicit trust that the dollar still has some backing.
Do you think the United States still has all its gold?
But the truth is that I don't know. I think the gold is there. Ownership is a question because there's a lot of borrowing and gimmickry that goes on. And that's why the audit is so important. When I was one of 2 members that supported the gold standard back on the Gold Commission, there were only 2 of us that voted and said, let's audit the gold. Let's have a good, true assessment. But the 15 other ones said, no, we don't want to know. I wonder why they didn't want to know.
But it's been rehypothecated over the years and lent out to other countries.
Which is the same thing as it not being there.
Same thing as it's not being there. It's not ours, right? So what if it's sitting in there? It's owned by somebody else. But here's where I think this is absolutely spot on. So the Gold Reserve Act of 1934 required that the Federal Reserve transfer all of its gold to the Department of the Treasury. Okay. Did they do that? I don't know, because they haven't been audited. This is Elon Musk's thing. Like, this has got to be audited. This is what Ron Paul wants to do. When Trump basically came in and he made all of these campaign promises of bringing us to sound money and doing these kind of things and maybe getting rid of the IRS and auditing the Fed. This is what Ron Paul has been preaching about literally for decades.
It starts with gold, and I've been following the COMEX. There's something going on with gold, and nobody really knows what it is. Somebody here in the United States is buying a crap load of gold. We think, I hope, it's the Treasury or the central bank, the Fed. But somebody is taking huge physical deliveries, and it's causing shortages in London, where they buy and sell gold. There's shortages now of gold because somebody is buying it and shipping it here. Somebody with very deep pockets. Okay, so why? Now, this is all theory. That's fact. Here's the theory of what's going on. They're preparing for a full-on gold audit. We talked about this yesterday. The government right now claims on its balance sheet as an asset all of this gold, and it's valued at $45 an ounce. In case you haven't heard, it's $2,900 an ounce. So they're talking now about boosting the price of gold, at least market to market, but maybe even making it $5,000 an ounce, okay? If that happens, the balance sheet starts to fall into line, and our debt to GDP is not as bad as it really is right now.
The Gold Reserve Act of 1934 required that the Federal Reserve transfer all of its gold to the Department of the Treasury. Okay, did they do that? I don't know, because they haven't been audited. This is Elon Musk's thing. Like, this has got to be audited. This is what Ron Paul wants to do. Alex, they don't have it. It's not ours. Who knows where it went? It's been lent out. But when Trump basically came in and he made all of these campaign promises of bringing us to sound money and doing these kind of things and maybe getting rid of the IRS and auditing the Fed, this is what Ron Paul has been preaching about literally for decades. Audit Fort Knox, make sure that this gold is actually there that's supposed to be there. Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the charts of the COMEX depositories exploding in size, right? And London is just coming down to almost nothing, so much so that, like we talked about, I think it was a week or two ago, they were offering 16% a month for people that have their gold in London to release it so they could fulfill their contracts. Well, don't do that. That's stupid, right? If they don't have it now, they're not getting it back in. You're actually probably going to lose it. I wouldn't care if the interest rate were 50% a month, right? So here's where I think Trump is actually just absolute genius in what Elon Musk is doing, because going to tariffs to generate revenue, I think this is all tied to gold. So here's what's starting to happen. Going back to 2023, Putin at the BRICS meeting said he's going to de-dollarize the world, and it's irreversible, and it's their objective. And they want to have their currency, their BRICS common currency, 40% backed by gold. So now, here comes Trump. He said, you know what? If Harris were president, I think that the BRICS would have taken over the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And we talked about this, but Trump won. So now it's a moot point. Trump's not giving up our reserve currency, but how do you make our currency sound stable, something that the rest of the world is going to want, and bring back the reputation to America? Let's back it with gold. See, I think, to use Roger Stone's terminology, it's coming back home to roost, right? He's repatriating the gold back here from all parts of the globe, coming back to be stored in CME COMEX. I think this is what Glenn Beck was talking about. Somebody big with really big pockets is wanting this gold. We're talking about, I think, the government, the Treasury Department repatriating the gold that you should have, which is literally thousands and thousands and thousands of tons, coming up to like $37 trillion. Now, what Beck was correct on is, yeah, if you mark to the market rather than actually it's $42.02 an ounce, that's some arbitrary 1950s number that the Fed values it at, why would they do that? Well, they've been poo-pooing gold for so long because they had their own fiat currency. They needed to actually legitimize the fiat-based central bank system. But now that we want gold to back it. Why not mark to the market like every other central bank does, which would put it at $3,000 an ounce? But why? If you're going to back up a currency, you can actually come up with another arbitrary number. You don't have to actually.
Well, let's expand on that, though. You said this a few weeks ago, and Beck was just saying it. They've got it at $48 an ounce arbitrary when it's really at $3,000 or almost $3,000. But with real inflation, like you said, 5, 6, 7,000. Now we're past the $37 trillion debt right there.
If you go to usdebtclock.org, right, they take the amount of money in circulation, the M3 money supply, the amount of gold or the amount of silver that's available, the available stockpile, and what price does it give you? With that number, gold should be $12,623 an ounce, and it's at 3,000. So that's a factor of 4 times greater. Silver should be $1,561 an ounce. It's 32. Now, this is M3 money supply. What M3 doesn't actually cover, they stopped using MZ money supply, which is actually all the euro dollars, all the money that was printed for stimulus money that goes to Ukraine, all these other places that's off the books. We don't know how many dollars are out there floating around that was never accounted for. But I have a copy of a letter that I got just a couple of days ago. And here it says, "Dear valued partners, the interest rates are 10 times above historical norms, significantly impacting market conditions and the threat of new tariffs. One of the largest refineries in the world says on February 20th, they're going to have to raise the premiums on gold, $3.50 an ounce. No big whoop. Gold's $3,000 an ounce. But look at silver. They're going to add $3 an ounce premium to silver on February 20th. $3 an ounce from the largest refinery in one of the largest ones in the world. Now, this is like almost a 10% increase in price in one day for people purchasing it. But this is not going to stop with this one refinery. I think all of them are going to have to follow suit because they're all seeing the same market conditions, the huge, massive amount of supply reduction as things are leaving London. You got to realize the Bank of England is the largest depository in the world for gold and silver, right? CME COMEX is massive too. But when you're talking about central banks and their gold hoards, you're talking about LBMA, Bank of England, that's storing that. They are literally running out. And the largest refinery in the world now is going to add a $3 premium to minted silver. This is wild and a foreshadowing of things to come. You want to take advantage of Trump's policies? Here's what I think Trump's policies are also going to do. Probably have a dramatic negative impact on the stock market. And here's the reason why. Because what's good for America is not good for the world, right? When you're slapping tariffs on there and we're bringing gold back to America, we're going to back up our currency with gold. This is what this is looking like. Connect the dots. It only makes sense. You can't have something back a currency if it's not audited. You need to audit the Fort Knox before this all happens.
Well, we can see as of 2/18, gold is at $2,951.80. Silver is at $33.44 per ounce. Cryptos slowly but surely keep dipping and dipping. They're not doing it a whole bunch, but they are dropping a little bit at a time. I think what you're going to see is people start taking out some of their cryptocurrencies to start buying more gold and silver in the wake of what's happening with the increase in the $3 per ounce for gold and silver for the premiums. My guess is that they're adding such a large premium to try to slow the sales of both gold and silver on the precious metal market to the public. Yeah, I hope a lot of you have started stacking when I first told you. There's no guarantee what direction this government's going to go into, but we are talking about Trump. And his goal was to take us back to sound money. He's talking about taking us back to the gold standard. Is that possible? Will he do it? We're going to find out. But all we know right now is that there's a huge panic in the gold and silver market. Hopefully you've bought your shares of gold and silver way when I told you, because when the dust is settled, you're going to be a very, very happy camper. I do believe that Trump wants to get rid of income taxes. I do believe that Trump wants to go to sound money. But in order to do all this, Trump can't just change the value of gold to the current market price, of which is almost $3,000 per ounce. Remember, on the Fed books, it's listed at $42 per ounce. That's the value of gold. That's on the books. If you change it just to the current rate where we are right now, then we clear out our debt. Can you imagine that? But there's no way in how, because we don't know how many dollars are in circulation. I think realistically, and this is just my opinion, Trump is going to revalue gold at somewhere around $15,000 per ounce. If you do a 15-to-1 ratio and you're holding on to silver, hang on, because that's going to change your life. A lot of people are going to become very, very rich. All I know is that Monica and her children are going to be very, very happy campers. Anyways, I look forward to hearing from you. That's it for now. I'm out.